Hello everybody, I'm Vayman427 and welcome back to Scrap Mechanic. And I said it in the past and I'm doing it now because I wanted to. I am making a little series explaining how to use logic, what logic is, uses, how to use it. But yeah, I guess uses for it. And just, general things about the logic in Scrap Mechanics. So I don't have a perfect 100% understanding of it. I know it's like, well, why do you have the right to make it? But I have a pretty good in-depth understanding of it. And again, this is just a very basic thing just so that people can understand. Because see, ever since I found out how to use logic properly, I've used it like a lot. So really, this is just to have people to get a basic understanding of logic. And really, mostly the main thing for logic that I'll be talking about is bit memory and ways to use it, particularly in this episode. So yeah, so let's just get out here. So obviously, first thing we're gonna go over is different types of logic in Scrap Mechanic. So the logic blocks or logic gates, and the timer. Then I'll go on to show you what bit memory is, and then and also how to make it, and then different uses for it. So yeah, and that's pretty much what the series will get to, and eventually again we'll get into more we'll get into more depth of it and understanding of it. So first off, let's look at what memory is, and the first one off is the AND gate. So now whenever you have a memory block, and even on the memory block little icon down there, it is a AND gate, and AND gate is the simplest, well, not simplest, but it's a pretty simple one. And what it is, well, let's look at it. So active, if all of the linked triggers are active. Pretty much what it means is, let's say I have two buttons, or sorry, switches. So they're both connected, as you can see. If I flick one of them, well, the block is inactive. Let's activate the other one, see if something happens. Oh, well, it is inactive. But if I activate both of them, the bit will be active and output a signal. So I could have, 3, 5, an infinite number. But the only time this block will be activated is if all the inputs that are, so every single input, even if it's just one input, but every single input, every single thing connected to it that is going into it, sending a signal into it, if every one of those is turned on, so if they're active, it will output a signal. Second one turns off, doesn't matter which one, doesn't matter what order I turn these off in, as long as all of the inputs that are going into that block are on, it'll output a signal. And again, I can connect it to, say, I don't know, another block here, and you can see, oh, well, guess what? That one's active. But as you can see, they're both inactive. So that's pretty much how it is. So it's an AND gate. And everything needs to be connected. I don't know the best way of explaining it. There's clearly ways that they just, but yeah, so an AND gate is, simply put it, everything that is in the block needs to be on before it will output a signal. So pretty much everything needs to be on in the block to turn it on. Simple as that. Now we're going to move on to the OR gate. And let's read it. Active, if any of the link triggers are active. So let's put another few switches down. So let's flick one. Oh, well, hey, it goes on. All right, well, let's flick the other one. Oh, hey, it's on too. Let's flick both of them. Oh, well, they're both on. And it's outputting a signal. So, well, it's quite simple. Active if any of the link triggers are active. So, if I could put down 5 again, and hey, that one's active? Sure. Want this one to be active there? Sure. That one, that one, that one? Sure. I could have all of them be active, and it would still be active. Again, so as long as one of the inputs, again, even if it's just one input, and one single thing is into there, as long as one of the multiple or singular inputs, as long as one of them is on, it'll be active. So I could have an infinite of, okay, maybe not infinite amount, that's way too big, but you know what I mean. I could, again, I just had 5 there, and even if one was on, it'd still be active. It's that simple. All right, now I believe this one is the XOR. Yeah, XOR. So it's exclusive OR. So active if only one of the linked triggers are active. So let's put down 5 again. I'm not gonna lay it out just that way because it's there. So let's lay it out that way. So let's turn the first one on. Oh hey, it's on. Let's turn the second one on. Oh, it's off. Oh, it's on. It's off. Well, it's on. So what this means is either A, if only one of the link triggers are active, pretty much either everything needs to be on, everything needs to be... So if everything's on, well, as you can clearly see, it'll output a signal. If everything's off, well, it won't. But if there's... It's weird, because if there's a uneven... So if there's an odd amount of switches on, as you can see here, 3 are active, it'll be active. But if not, well, not, and then 1 is active. Pretty much, simply put, if only one of the linked things is on, it'll activate. No more, no less. But again, as you can see, I could have all 5 of these on, but here, in fact, let's connect a 6th one. Second I turn this one on, bam, it turns off. So there is multiple, there's quite a bit of uses for this. It can be an inverter, but it also isn't. It's a little bit of a weird one, but usually the most case, 9 chances out of 10 cases you'll be using it is active if only one of them are active. And as you can see, so it's XOR because it's an exclusive one. It's exclusively for that one. Just so you know, we will talk about the timer, but we'll talk about it last. Now we're going to the NAND gate. So it's like an AND gate, but active if any of the linked triggers are inactive. So it's kind of like an OR gate in the fact that it'll be active if any of them are linked, but it's also not. Pretty much, well, there's basic and inverted, and usually what inverted means is the opposite of, well, normal. Or, I guess, like in some cases, it's, inverting a color would make it the opposite color kind of thing. So these are the inverted gates, and these are the basic ones. So, NAND gate, well, kind of looks a little like the AND gate, and you can see it kind of acts that way. So, for example, let's put down, this time we'll put down 3. Well, you can see that all of the, it's putting out a signal, but I haven't turned anything on. Well, that's because it's supposed to. The second I turn off all of the signal, or turn on all of the signals that have been input into it, it'll turn off. So pretty much everything needs to be on for the block to turn off. But second that everything, even the second that one thing isn't on, it'll turn on, I guess. So it's the whole, these 2 are on, but the second I turn this one on, it'll turn off. And everything's off, it'll be on. Everything's on, it'll be off. Simple as that. It's an AND gate, but, well, inverted. Now I move to a NOR gate. So active if all the linked triggers are inactive. Now the way that they explain these, I feel like it should have been kind of the other way around, and I feel like they actually accidentally switched those around, because, but I might be totally wrong about this. So let's input 3, and then, oh, well, look at that. Almost like a OR gate, except not. So so it's outputting a signal, and, well, everything's off, but second one turns on, it turns off. It's like an OR gate, where if I had the 3 buttons there and I turned one on, it would turn on, then I could turn on as many as I wanted, it'd still be on. With this, it's a case of, one has to be on for it to be off. One has to be on for it to be on, kind of thing. So it's the whole, again, the ones that are inverted are the same ones as the AND, OR, or XOR. So they still have the same functions, except it's with these ones, if the input that is going into them is on, they will output a on signal. But with these ones, it's if the input is off, so the inputs that are being put into them, there isn't any signal going into them, they will be on. So as you can see, yeah. And again, if you want me guys to go over this in another video, I will totally do that. Just because, again, I know this kind of stuff can be complicated. Now I get to the XNOR. So, active. If an even number of linked triggers are active. Now, this one is kind of the weird, super kind of complicated-y one. It's bizarre, but it does have its uses, as we will see, possibly, no, I don't know, we might not, but there's it has its uses. It's a little weird, but it definitely does have its uses. So let's place down 6, because that's an even number. So let's do blop, 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 blop. So everything is off. Turn it on. So everything is on, and it's an even number. So remember, if an even number of linked triggers are active. So active if an even number of linked triggers are active. The second 5 are active. Well, that's an odd number. It's not even. It'll be inactive. But I can turn on... I can have 4 active, as you can see here. It'll be active. But again, 3, well, that's an odd number. It won't be active. But 2, it will. 1, it won't. But none of them are active. And... is 0 an odd or an even number? Well, it's neither. It's none of them are active, so it's going to be on. Now, one thing I will point out is with these blocks, as you can see, even the inverted blocks that would be on if they were off, they have to have a linked up input to be, because again, right now, again, in this case, I guess a good one would be the NAND maybe. So it would be, if everything is, off, it'll be on kind of thing. Or if any of them are off, kind of thing. But since there isn't any linked triggers, neither on nor off, well, it'll just be off. So yeah, that's just something to tell you about that kind of thing. So yeah. As you can see, well, there's not an even one. Even. And, 6, well, that's an even number. Last time I checked, there's a 2, 4, 6. Oh, yeah, that's an even number, so it'll be on. Simple as that. So these things aren't complicated. Like, it's not like I'm trying to explain to you the physics of the universe and how everything came into existence. But it is understandable. And again, I obviously had trouble understanding these things because it took me so long to understand them. So remember, if you guys need any, need to tell me again if I'm talking too fast or I didn't explain it well. I'll do the next episode of this. I'll do listen to you guys. Next up, we're going to look at the timer, and this is the last, what is considered technically logic of the game. And pretty much, simply put, it's a delay. So, you'll see that there's ticks down here, and then you'll see 0, 0, that at the bottom. And you'll see 2 sliders. So first off, we're going to start at the slider here. If I brought it up 1, it's one little notch. So what I just simply did is I scrolled my mouse wheel again, or you can click and drag it like I did here. But you'll see that number goes to 00.025s, and then 1 tick. So what that means is 1 tick is a form of game measurement. I'm not perfect as to what it means, and a lot of things I've tried to kind of search about it, do it well, but in this case, because I know like in Minecraft, for example, God, that's an old game. Well, not old game, but you know what I mean. Don't play it on the channel anymore. It's kind of gotten boring. But pretty much 1 tick, would be, there'd be this many ticks in a second. And in this game, in this case, in the span of 0.025 seconds, 1 tick will pass. So if I bring it halfway, so it says 500, so it's half of a second, 1/5 of a second, 20 ticks. So if I bring this up all the way to 1 second, well, there's 40 ticks. So in this game, there's 40 ticks in 1 second. This is the ticks adjustment one, and then now this one is the second. So if I put this up 1, well, it'll go up 1 second, and then 2, 3, 4, and I can bring this up all the way to 59 seconds. So 2,360 ticks. And then if I bring this up all the way, it'll go 60 seconds. So the maximum a timer can go in this game, unless you mod it or physically change the code, is 60 seconds, so 1 minute, or 2,400 ticks. And now the reason why ticks are important is because, again, certain logic-related things, which I will be demonstrating next, do need ticks and things like that. But yeah, simply put, it's a delay. So for example, you know what? Let's just, I'll just do this for example. So let's bring this up to 1 second. So 40 ticks. If I put this down here and then I put a logic block. So this is, I don't know, again, random output I need to something. I can connect this up, and then the second the input is active, you'll see a little bar fills up, and then, hey, guess what? A second later, the block is activated. So, let's deactivate it, and guess what? It's deactivated. But, you know what? Maybe I feel like I want it to be 3 seconds. 120 ticks. Because I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? Maybe that wasn't long enough. I need it to be a little longer. Well, hey, guess what? The bar will fill up, and bam, it's activated. Now, one thing I am going to show you is, and this is I don't know if this is mechanics of the game or if this is real life, but, so it's got a delay of 1 minute, or not 1 minute, 3 seconds on there. So, as you can see, I just hooked up a button there. Maybe I'm gonna press a button on there. So as you can see, every pulse, or again, input, no matter how long, will pretty much always take 1 second. So I could hold this down for this long until it gets halfway, and then you can see that's tickling like so. Sure, this didn't stay on for as long as 1 second, but the travel time from the beginning to the end took 1 second, so it was a 1 second delay. So one thing that comes to mind when I think of this is Morse code. Now I don't know Morse code, so don't quote me on this, but you know, so I could do like that, and then as you can see, it flashes out the same pattern in the same order, same distance. It's just the delay from the very second I pressed the button to when it ended was 3 seconds. So again, a timer is just a simple delay. Destroying the display there. So yeah. Now, what are a few useful things for logic? Obviously, we've seen that before, and there's a few other things I'll show you, but one of the things that comes to mind and is extremely useful is bit memory, or just memory in general. Now, the way that real memory functions is, well, there's obviously different ways in real life that it functions, but I believe, if I've done my research correctly, this is the more realistic version, or again, at least a version that is more known. Now, one thing that I'd like to point out, technically both of them are realistic and actually true. It's just the way that the way the game needs to function to have it work. So first thing I'd like to point out is in real life, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. Actually, hold on, I don't like it spinning that way. Yeah, okay. There we go. So in real life, I believe it's 2 NOR gates. And if we look at a NOR, if all link triggers are active, inactive, and yeah. So in real life, how it would work is these two would be connected. So it'd be that one to that one, and that one to that one. But now, I'll explain to you what just happened there. Pretty much, so it would be, this one would be on, this one would be off. And then if I was to put an input into this side, this one would be off, that one would be on. Now, due to the mechanics of the game, what we have to do is we have to add a OR gate. Now, it doesn't actually have to be an OR gate, it can be an AND gate, really as long as it's another signal that can, you know, go on kind of thing. So pretty much, this here is the same thing as this one, except, again, I'll explain to what that does for the game. So pretty much, this is the closest we can get to real, actual memory in real life and how it works, it's 2 NOR gates. It's pretty much if the input is off, and things like that. But again, since we can't have in Scrap Mechanic 2 blocks connect to each other by 2 different means, it's the whole... So let's say, okay, better yet, let's say, so I connected this one to that one, but I want to connect this one back to that one. Well, breaks the connection. So we need to have this OR gate here to pretty much complete the connection. And obviously it doesn't have to be in the same position. If I wanted to, I could move the OR gate, down here and then connect everything the same way, and it would work. And pretty much, if we have an input into one of the NOR gates, I can press it, and guess what? It switches. Well, that's because if all linked triggers are inactive. So, well, this one's active because all of the linked triggers here are inactive. So I haven't pressed the button, so it's not active. This one here, which is it's getting input from, is inactive. So you know what? Hey, it's active. But once I make it active, well, what happens is this one becomes inactive because, well, hey, not all of them are active. So it sends a signal to here. And again, if all of them active, if all of them are inactive, well, since again it's inverted and not inverted, it's reversed pretty much. Well, it's the whole. Well, now all of them aren't active anymore, so I gotta switch back. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, shouldn't it make a circle because it's the whole? Well, this one isn't active, so it should go back to here, and this one. That's where this AND gate comes in. So I'll move away from here and I'll go to that. So this works the same way. As you can see, you have the 2 NOR gates and an OR. So this is called NOR OR memory, or again, yeah. So with that. So now I'm actually gonna get rid of the buttons here for a second, and I'm actually gonna move them over. I'll hook them back up at the end, but I just want to get rid of the pinkness from there. So pretty much what happens is, so this is actually pretty much, let me disconnect the AND gate to pretty much explain what happens. So what would be happening, again, there's obviously different ways in the whole, again, I'm not a computer scientist, so yeah. So what would happen is, heck, I'll even show you, due to the mechanics of the game. Now, if this was real life, this would stay the same, and as long as you don't fiddle with it or something like that, you'll be fine. So let's let's just place down a simple little thing here, and oop, jeez, come on, there we go. Let's just make a simple little thing here. So that's blop, blop, blop. Oh, there you go, beautiful. It'll work. So let's just there you go. Just take it off. Hey, working fine. But say I want to pick it up or move it, or I delete it off the lift and I go to spawn it somewhere else and I go to place it down. Oh, well, it's flashing now. Now that can be sorted out where, let's say if I put an input into one of the OR gates, it'll be fixed. But you're not exactly going to want to load into your world every time, or every time you spot a creation with bit memory on it. Want that to happen. So what the AND gate does is it takes an input from here and an input from here. So these two are its two. Actually, wait, no, sorry. Takes an input from these two. There we go. And well, not all of them are active. Sure, this one's active, but that one isn't, so AND gate's not going to be active. And then what it does is it sends an output to there. So what happens is, pretty much, if this circuit loopy thing begins to happen, is it will start here, and then, the loop thing it'll go to there. But now, the way that this works is, well, since this one isn't active anymore, and this one is, but also, yeah, that one's not active. I'm not sounding confused. I'm trying to make suspense here. So it's the whole, well, since everything needs to be active, it won't send out a signal. So what'll happen is, well, then that should be fine. But the problem is with this kind of, what end up happening is there will be pretty much, the memory will be switching back and forth so much that pretty much both, almost, at one it'll be like everything is on and off at the same time. It's weird. So what this will do is if both of these end up being on and at the same time, which means the memory is doing that glitch thing, then what it'll do is it'll send a signal to here, which will, all links are active, which will pretty much deactivate it and then reactivate this one. And also in a weird thing, it'll kind of, it pretty much, it fixes itself in a way. So when you spawn it in fact, I'll even demonstrate here. Let's put an AND gate there. There we go. Let's demonstrate here. So taking input from there, blam. So let's just name this one. Yep, nope, come on. No, test again. Yep, overwrite it. So demonstrate to you again. So what'll happen is it'll flash for a split second, but then it'll immediately go to there. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, is this going to happen every time I spawn it in? Yes, which is why you design your vehicles around this, and yeah. Now there's obviously different kind of ways of wiring this up, but this is the not different, I think, but there's obviously, again, I could have the OR gate, here, or the OR gate there, and the NOR gate there, and I could place this in ways, as long as they're connected in a way where both, there's a NOR connected to a NOR, and then a NOR connected to an OR, and then an OR is connected to the previous NOR, and then the OR input, and then one NOR input, that is, the NOR input that is off is connected to an AND gate, and the AND gate is connected to the NOR gate that is active. I know it sounds weird and it's a bunch of jabble, but yeah, it will work. So let's just get rid of this, and let me just see how long I've been doing this. All right, I've been doing this for a while. All right, so that's that for me. To me, that's the most versatile type of memory, just because. Here, let me do this. By the way, so you know, these are your inputs and outputs. In real memory, again, let's just say this is the input or output. So say I was making a computer or something, or again, something that needed to read data. This I might have. You could have either one be whatever you need. Doesn't matter. Heck, you can even have the OR gate be an input or output as you want. I just prefer to choose that. Pretty much have one block that is sending a signal to either represent on or off, 1 or 0. And pretty much what can happen is, so this would be input. And you can see, now, okay, I pressed the button really quick, so it flashed for a second, but you can see here, so I press it here, it shifts it over, press it there. So again, if I had a machine that needed to read it, well, he'd represent, 0, and then, there you go, it's on. So there's upsides and downsides to both of these. One upside is let's say you want to make I mentioned this in the SCP containment breach, in Scrap Mechanic video, that with this one, let's say I had 2 buttons going into one input, so I pretty much I had the input of one button going to one thing. No matter how many times I did this wouldn't switch which one it would be. I'd need to pretty much with this one, this has a input and then like a reset button almost, or again, something like that. So this one is quite useful just because it has a lot of uses, and not a lot of times you're going to need the next one, which we'll move on to. Now, see, with this one, the reason why you might want to use this one is, let's say you did want to have, and then in this case it's the SCP, where pretty much you have one button. In this case, it's this button, where you can press it, it'll turn it on, and then you can press it again, and it'll turn it off. Now, there are ways to do it with this kind of memory, but it ends up being bulky, big, and complicated. So the reason why you might want to use this one is because this one is extremely fast, as you can see. They go the same speed. It's just this one is like, I think, a tick or two faster, and this one isn't, just because it has to do a little more processing. But this one's more reliable, and actually, depending on what you need, might take up less space, as you can clearly see. But this one, depending on what you need, will be the more compact thing than trying to make it out of this form of bit memory. But as you can see, it makes it. Now turns it on or off. Now, before I get to showing you how to make it, why would you say not want to use this for, again, something that needs to read a form of memory? Well, See, what this one is, let's say again, I wanted to make a computer. And I pretty much want it to be, here's a bunch of these pieces of bit memory lined up. I've got them connected in some way, shape, or another to pretty much something that'll activate. So pretty much, let's say it was reading a bunch of lines on a floor or something. So, bah, 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 I don't know, or something. And pretty much each block that it would see that it's a line, it would input to a piece of bit memory. I don't know. I'm getting kind of complicated, but I'm trying to keep it as similar as possible. A good thing to this is, well, you could have a master reset button connected to all of them and pretty much set everything back to 0. And then it would be, oh, well, something checks an input, blam. This one, and I could send input to this one as many times as I wanted to. It'll still be that way. It won't switch back to something. And then again, the next one, so it's the whole. That one's just better. But with this one, it's the whole, well, if I have a master reset and I'm using a bunch of these pieces of bit memory, and it's the whole, well, there's one that's on and then another one that's off, and then one that's on and another one's off, well, then they'll switch. So then this one was on, but then the next one will be off, and then the next one will be on, and the next one will be off, but I wanted all of them to be off. So that's kind of the thing, and there isn't a way to get around this. So I've, tested. But again, there is uses, as I've told. So I guess I'll get into making this. So I explained how to make that one, and I explained a little bit on how to make this one. I guess I'll explain how to make them. There's supposed to be the area where I explain how to make it, so I guess I'll show you. So let's get, actually, hold on. Let's do that. I'm making it spread out just because it's, again, it's just a lot easier to comprehend. So we're going to need an XOR gate, and we're going to set this one to 2 ticks. You can set it to 1 tick, but I'll explain to you why 2 ticks is is really good. You're going to need an XOR gate, which is important because active if only one of link triggers is active. And then these are just going to be OR gates, just because it's, I don't know, it seems to cause a lot less problems, I've noticed, but that's just me. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, what is this little thing here? If this is the piece of bit memory, what is this for? Well, let me just show you what'll happen. So I want to set this bit memory and have it go on. Last time I checked, my bit memory shouldn't be doing that. So here, let's. Oh no! Oh, this is one of the things that can happen with this thing. So pretty much what this is this little thing at the beginning is called a tick generator, and it's a single tick generator. So I'll explain to you how it works and why we need it. So first off, I'm going to take a button. I'm going to connect these ones to here, and I'm going to have it. Oop, no. Yes, I am doing this right. Yes, okay. I was a little. My brain is kind of a little there. So pretty much, obviously we know what the AND gate is. It'll only be active if, well, everything else is active. Okay, so we have the 2 inputs here. We have a button connecting to it and a, XOR? XOR, yeah. And then, so this one will be active if only one of the link triggers are active. Well, alright. Oh, well, we have 2 inputs. So we've got a button. And we've got a timer. So it'll only be active if one of them is here. Get back to this one. So we have a button connecting to the timer. So the timer will activate, and it'll take about 2 ticks. Or, not a 50th. Yeah, a 50th of a second? No, not a 50th, because then it'd be a 100th of a second. No, yeah, so a 50th of a second, yeah. Connecting it, so it'll take a 50th of a second to get there. And, well, since it's connected into there, since only one of these can be active, so what'll happen is I'll activate the button. It'll activate the timer and the OR gate. So what happens is the OR gate will activate first, but then 2 ticks later, the AND gate will come along and activate it. So it'll deactivate it. So what that does is that'll make this AND block flash for a, well, 1 tick. And since this piece of bit memory needs to function on a 1 tick thing. Pretty much, if I hold that button down for longer than a tick, it'll create that infinite loops you saw. And pretty much how this one works is, if it's active, if only one of the link triggers are input, pretty much you activate this, it activates that, which activates this. Which again, if I was to spawn this on a, lift, it would cause that infinite loop. Unless you had this thing in here, which will allow you to make that one tick thing, which will allow the loop to complete without completing, making like it loop for all eternity. So this makes a tick. So here, watch. So watch the AND gate to the left. So you can see that even with the XOR gate flashing on after the button has been turned, even with the button kind of pressed, pretty much, okay. So I'm holding the button down. As you can see, it only made one tick on that AND gate. But once I let go of it, now I know what you're thinking, well, wouldn't it make that tick again? Well, it would. If this button wasn't connected, watch. Reason why it does that is because, well, once I take, I don't keep, holding E on that button, it's technically off. So not all of the inputs are met, so it won't activate a second time. So that's why we can connect it to here, and blam. So I can hold this for as long as I want, and it'll be fine. Obviously, now let's say I tried to press this as fast as I could. Okay, well, obviously that's going to create problems. But I don't think people are normally going to be pressing buttons like, I don't think people are going to be trying to press buttons like that on purpose. So, yeah. Now, why did I do 2 ticks? Well, because it kind of takes a little bit of time. These things, here, let me show you. I could do this with 1 tick. That's 3 ticks. 1 tick, there we go. But you can see here that it kind of creates a little conundrum, because pretty much the best way I can explain it is, obviously, processing takes a little bit of time. Even if it's 1 tick, even if it's half a tick, even if it's 1 sextillionth of a tick to process what's this. Again, probably not. Again, I don't know. For every bit of logic, it's going to take a little bit of time, which is why these infinite loops can be created, because it's obviously take time to get pretty much for the signal to get from one to the other. So having 2 ticks, pretty much, so the button activates, and it activates this, and then once it gets to this, pretty much it's almost like, imagine if it being almost like 1 tick is taken off because of the processing time that it takes for it to get to these pieces and into the block. So it pretty much takes off 1 tick, but since this needs 1 tick to activate, you end up getting a 1 tick output that allows it to there. Now it may look like less than 1 tick on the block, but again, that's just the actual calculation stuff like that is actually going to down to 1 tick, but it's the whole, again, the lights and things like that. Things obviously takes time, and the whole, this is 60 frames per second, and my monitor can only display 60 frames, so yeah. So pretty much it's, with all the processing power, takes about a tick, and again, the game obviously runs it out and set out to there. So yeah, so again, I can hold this as long as I want, it'll be active. And in this case, since I will press this button, everything's active. Well, anything can be my output, but only this can be my input. Now, one thing that I can show you is, if I set this to an XOR, so if only one of the things is linked, I could set this to an OR with the demonstration I'm about to do, but it's with an XOR, it's a lot safer, mostly because it's the whole only one will be active. So let's, in this case, for the door that I did for the SCP containment breach, since there was, there's 2 buttons, there was one on one side, one on the other. Well, how did it work? Well, there's buttons connected into an XOR gate, and the reason why I did XOR gate is so this way, if someone tries to press one and then the other or something, it's not going to cause any problems. It'll make sure, again, if only one of them is active. And if both are active, well, it's not going to be active, so this way it doesn't mess up the system. So now you're thinking, well, the buttons need to be connected there. Well, yeah, now this has become the button input, so I'll connect it to here, and to here, and to there, and guess what? It'll work the same. It's just now I can have multiple inputs, and you know what? Heck, if I want to have a 3rd button for some reason, blam! Look, it's excuse me. Look, it works. So yeah, I can't think of much other uses for this. Obviously, there most definitely probably is, but for me, that was the most big use for it, and that was technically the first time I'd actually used this kind of memory, just because it is kind of bulky and complicated, and that one does have a lot more uses. So before the end of the video, I'm going to give you a quick demonstration using the NOR-OR combination of bit memory, which is quite useful. Now, here what I have set up is I have it so where these two buttons go into the same block, so they're both deactivated, which will activate this one. And once that block is become active, it'll activate this controller, which will swing the door open. But it'll also activate a timer, which will activate an OR gate, which will deactivate this and put it back to normal. So pretty much close it. So it'll be a 3-second delay before the door closes. Now, what does the OR gate need? Well, it could be a AND gate or an XOR gate. I just prefer OR just because it's really just a habit of, connecting things up and wiring. And again, I did that because, well, I can't connect, if I connect the timer back to that block, well, it disconnects it. So need that extra thing in between. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, what if happens if I set it to an AND gate? Well, it becomes active. And what happens is pretty much this is a setting with a particularly AND gate, a timer, and something like this. It would be good for, well, here, just watch this. See how it kind of resets it there a bit? Something that this would be good. It's not perfectly wired, I believe. Something like this. And actually, hold on, let's slow it to like 1 second. You can see here, and then, hold on. Did I do something wrong? I think I did something wrong. Ah, you know what it was? I think I did it this way, and then... There we go. And then... I clearly did something wrong, but pretty much it can make a, like a loop siren thing. So pretty much what this will do is, if we set this back to 3 ticks, don't know what I was going on there, but pretty much we set this, controller opens, oh, that's why. Sorry. It's being an idiot there. So pretty much what will happen is that'll activate, the timer will activate, and then what it'll do is it'll reset the piece of bit memory. And then obviously I'll have to wait for a piece, for it to refresh before I can open it. But now, press the button. 3 seconds, I'll walk through the door. Well, hey, guess what? It closes. Wait for that to deactivate. Press the button again, and I can press any of those buttons. Again, I could have this connected up to a XOR gate if I wanted to. I just didn't for that demonstration. But yeah, that was kind of like the little N-bit demonstration there. This took a lot longer than I thought it would. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, so probably not going to end up doing anything like that. Plus, this one involves mods, and that was actually kind of complicated. Not complicated. The actual thing of how it works is kind of, but never mind. So we're next few episodes, we're not going to get into things like that. But let's just review what we've gone over. So we've gone over different types of logic, so AND, OR, I believe XOR, NAND, no, so NAND, NOR, sorry. I never remember NOR for some reason. Only with NOR OR memory is when I remember NOR, so it's AND, so okay, let's go to AND, OR, XOR, NAND, NOR, XNOR. Ha, I got XNOR, yeah. So, yeah, and then the timer, which is a delay. We went over the basics of bit memory and the 2 different types that there are. If someone might invent a third one, or their way of script modding XNOR blocks, or sorry, NOR blocks. I believe you can do XNOR blocks pretty much into each other with, like, again, scripts and, changing the literal code of the game in the way it works. So yeah, we've gone over different types of memory, and that one's the exact same as that one, but yeah, you know, and you know, can I ask why you're not working? Oh. Oh my god, that's freaking, that was dumb. I am dumb. There we go. So we've gone over NOR or memory. We've gone over, I believe that's what, yeah, XOR, so XOR memory. And how to make them. It's that case, yeah. And, you know, a little demonstration. So yeah, either way, if you guys enjoyed this episode, be sure to like my knife and see more of my content, subscribe, and leave a comment down below, as is appreciated. Either way, see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!